We'll hit go live right as you're coughing.
Sorry. Blah, blah. That way, whoever watches the replay is like, blah. Hey, where does it start? I can't ever tell. I'll go back and I'll watch the first couple seconds of our show, and I can't tell where it starts. Does it start now in the pre-pre, or is it in?
It depends on if I actually edited or not.
Okay.
So
well,
you
hi,
can
welcome. If you're watching again.
No, it shouldn't. So if I've actually done my job correctly, then no, it shouldn't start now. It shouldn't start until we do the hook.
Okay.
So all of the pre-show and the pre-pre gets wiped out.
That's extra. Well, I've just noticed the times that I've gone to look, like they're pretty much all. Let me look. They're us goobing around.
Oh, well, apparently I'm way behind then.
Let me go look at these.
I know the last one, I'm sure I didn't do anything. I thought the others I did, but maybe I didn't.
70s live on the channel.
Yep, 70s is up and live. And
oh, you did it on that one. 68 is. Never mind. It's right.
Okay. John. Howdy, John. Good to see you, even though I can't see you. Although I can see you when I look down at your little profile icon. I see your family.
There you are.
Good to see you. Glad to be seen. So do we just start putting words in the bubbles and putting our own conversations together in our head? Yes, please. You have to tell us what you want us to chat about. Otherwise, we're going to chat about the Twitter files.
Oh, don't get me started. Oh, don't get me started. That's a great one. Oh.
Yeah, we'll just be chatting about all sorts of nonsense. I was actually thinking about that this morning.
The Twitter files are nonsense.
Yes. I was like, as I'm driving, as I do, and so I'm doing one of these motions. Side note, for some odd reason, my Galaxy Watch, when I'm driving a bus, occasionally it will think that I'm riding a bike.
Oh, so you get tons of miles because of the vibrations?
I'm guessing it's something with the vibration and my hands being fairly stationary.
You're closing rings like a maniac. You just whoop, whoop,
no,
whoop.
Every time it pops up, it's like, hey, that was a good 45-minute bike ride. And I was like, delete. I did not actually do that. Yes. No, so as I was driving, I was sitting here and I was thinking about this show and how we never have really figured out what we do or why we do it or what goes on. The only constant is that it's you and I just kind of chatting about something.
And John.
And John always here trying to get us distracted and off track, of course.
He's a character in the show. It's like, here comes John again.
But as I'm thinking about it, I was like, you know what? Here's the one constant. We're always struggling to find ideas and topics. And so then part of me was like, what would happen if you and I just started talking about whatever was actually on our thoughts and minds?
A better idea than I have, but yes, remind me about that later. Yes.
Because it was just like, I mean, what if something happened in the news and we just want to talk about it? Why? Because we can. Like, what are the podcasts? Yeah, I think I saw that out of the corner. The podcast police hasn't said you can't do that yet. Talking about Twitter files. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to arrest us? I mean, what would be the worst that would happen? They would shut this channel down? Or they might shut our other channels down? Doubtful.
Do you want me to put my tinfoil hat on and really go down this road? I'll tell you what they can do.
Yes, put your tinfoil hat on. Tell me what can happen. Because, hey, I think it was actually in the last episode, there was some tinfoil hat stuff at the beginning when we were chatting. And it was like, oh, I'm going to delete this out. I haven't deleted it out.
You are welcome.
Yeah,
you are welcome. Listen, I'm in it. And I got to tell you, a lot of that tinfoil hat stuff, you guys can tease me, and I think that you should tease me in the here and now, but some of that stuff's panning out, and it's like, this is awkward.
I don't mind a lot of the, well, I guess, how do I define this?
Love these songs.
The conspiracy theory aspect of it, it's like, I don't mind conspiracy theories as long as people know it's just a theory. But then once it becomes a fact, well, then just talk about the facts, but stop mixing fact with theory without a disclaimer. Hey, I don't know, but could it be? You know, and that's where I think
very likely. How about
that's
that?
where, yeah, even that's where it's like, there needs to be some disclaimer, because especially in the Christian circles over the last couple years, they have been peddling theories, unproven theories, as fact. And it's like, you know, there is a difference between correlation and causation, and coincidence. And it's like, and I do believe in coincidences. Now, more often than not, there is a cause behind it that just seems coincidental, but really it was kind of intended that way. And really, like, the whole tinfoil thing, to me, the tinfoil is like flat earthers.
Now, I don't know, when you sit down with a true believer.
I have. And you know
I
what?
have too.
I was like, you're serious?
Yes. Let me tell you, I sat down. The man is a salesman to his core, and I can't tell because let's just say this: he's loosely, I don't know that he would call himself a believer. So he's loosely associated with the whole Jesus thing, and at least being quasi-truthful. So he does not mind telling a little bit of a story and going all in. So the dude will straight out lie to your face, and you spend the whole time going, does he believe this? Is he just trying to gaslight me into going, oh, come on, man, what in the world are you talking about? Anyway, absolute blast, but after about 30 minutes of his presentation, I was going,
yeah.
No, wait a minute. No, that's not right.
I've been known to sit down across from people that have peddled it with such conviction and look at them and be like, you're not really that dumb, are you? Like, right to their face. I'm like, are you seriously that detached? Okay, fair enough.
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff.
So, I don't know. I was just kind of, as I was sitting there and thinking, should we share this out and say, hey, we're talking about gaslighting and aliens and flat Earth?
Oh, my goodness. There you go. Hey, whatever we talked about last week seemed to be quasi-engaging. I haven't looked at the back end of it, but it had...
Hey, so the Vlog Pastors podcast is going on right now over at the channel. And, yeah, we're talking about, like, flat earthers and tinfoil hats. And here in a little bit, maybe the Twitter files. Ooh, maybe we'll talk about how AI is taking over everything.
You're a mess.
All right.
But I'm kind of being serious.
I'm kind of serious and kind of not. Hello, Genevieve.
Let's see what Sean's doing. Goobing around.
Yeah, I was going to pull up some more comments, but I was also trying to tag and stuff.
No, get it done.
What was I doing? Oh, yeah, I know what I was doing. I got to add a link. Link. Yeah, you got to remember, with the link, you can just do https://vlogpastors.com. Make sure it says vlogpastors.com. And then I need to copy that because I'm going to paste it again. Copy. Done. And then I will hit next. And then I got to add a mention here. And where's the mention? That guy. Hit done. And then...
What are you talking about AI?
What? We need to talk about...
I had no clue on that AI until I saw Trey's video. I haven't seen Trey's video.
I haven't seen Trey's video either. I don't know which one I'm talking about.
Which is what I was going to recommend to you whenever you were saying, what coming up with topics and stuff. We could just plug it into the AI and it could tell us. It does a pretty decent job.
You know, actually, I don't know what Trey's video is, but I was actually thinking about making a video. That right there was a good joke. But
I see you.
But I was thinking, what would happen if I actually, if I just tried to have AI write a whole sermon for me and then preach it?
I think you'd be surprised. I had it come up with a faith-based YouTube channel, come up with a content strategy, and the video topics and things that it would like basically come up with, what it would do. They weren't bad. They really weren't bad.
No, really.
It's built around it kind of found like a home base in Bible studies, devotionals, and testimonies, which I wasn't bad for an AI. And it knew I was talking about Christian stuff, so it's like, all right. Nice. I just said faith-based, and I guess in the language, faith-based means Christianity. Yeah. I was impressed with it.
Yep. Okay. So yes.
One sec. Gotta say bye to the wife.
Okay, you do that. I'll go to me, and not he who shall remain nameless. Oh, John was saying, goobing around, not to be confused with gooning around. Yes, we do not want to be goons. Although, you never know. Need to update that pic, because the kids have grown a lot. Yes, John's saying he's needing to update his picture because the kids have grown.
He said that 3 years ago.
This is true. The podcast police has not said we can't do anything yet. And because they haven't, they won't. Or will they? They might. Oh, that's the other thing I should do. I should go back over here. Where was I in the studio? Oh, hey, I can hear myself. That's always fun. Edit video? Is that what I want to do?
Here we go.
Into the studio.
Sound Gremlins Unite.
No, where's the I don't even know how I got in there. Oh,
yes, John.
Wait. Studio. Go into my studio. Go into the live studio. Where's the live studio? Live. Go live. Let's click on that. Manage. There we go. Now I'm in the live back end. I can share this out on the Twitter. Yep, good enough. I don't care. Okay, what else? Not going with an actual topic, that is. Yes, and today we're not actually going with a topic because I sent Jarrod a message last night. He didn't respond until this morning after I had already fallen back asleep after being out late last night and then driving bus this morning, and came home and I was like, well, if he's not replying, I'm taking a nap. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Fair enough.
And then he replied like a half hour before I actually woke up, because I did set my alarm. And then that's why apparently I have my sexy radio voice, because I'm still
sexy radio voice. There it is. Ooh. It's basic. I can't even do it. Joshua.
I don't know. Oh, hey, you know what's neat? I just looked behind me.
Look at them puppies.
There's a Duchess and
Dutchie.
There's a flower. Dutchie.
Oh.
Flower. Dutchie.
Look at that tail go. Every time you say your name.
Dutchie. Flower. Okay, so they come running over to me. All right, you guys can go back. I don't know what they're doing here. They normally aren't even allowed in here. We normally have like a little mat up there, and apparently Duchess decided to take Flower's seat now. But there's normally a mat in the hallway to prevent them from actually popping up here. But apparently I did that, and she decided to run. Oh, and Flower's just going to stay here until I move the chair. Wait, there is a VP website? Yes. Well, no. There's a VP domain name that forwards straight to the YouTube channel. I mean, we had a website up for a little while back in Vlogpaster Season 3.
Trey, yep.
And, I had basically just used a Google site and compiled a link to all of everybody's YouTube channels. And then I was like, wait a second. How about if we just forward this over to our YouTube channel? That way we don't have to remember, and we don't have to wait till the, 100 subscribers to do whatever the thingamajigger.
Ooh, thought. I wonder if that AI can write a newsletter. There you go, Josh.
That way I can actually put out my newsletter.
You're sending out your newsletters. All we needed to do is start recording. We're good to go.
Yeah.
One day.
I'll have it write a script based on a random family vlog.
Seriously, that's another video right there. Just have the AI write your entire video, the script for your entire video, and say whatever it tells you to say.
I'll be like, AI has told me what to do, and I still won't do it.
That would fit. That's on brand.
I struggle if it's not actual facts. I have had multiple rants on theories when I can poke holes in it. Yeah. I mean,
listen, I'm with you.
Your tinfoil hat should be able to hold water.
Yes. Yes, but there's certain things that are like purposely people don't want to hear. That's frustrating. So like we can't have a dialogue around certain things. So that's my whole my frustration with conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, flat earth thing, that's just funsies. That's for funsies. There are other topics that I have to say in public, well, it's a conspiracy theory because we can't have a conversation about it. That drives me nutso.
Like what?
I'm serious.
Give me an example.
Anything political. If you talked about Twitter files right now,
yeah,
you're gonna be saying like basically the new information that's just come out. Well, do you have conspiracy theories as to what Baker had?
You know what? Here's the difference with the Twitter files, in my estimation, and that's because
the vaccine.
Audio gremlins are back.
But I digress.
How do I never know what is causing that? What is wrong with me? Oh, the vaccine.
So many topics.
Yeah.
Like you just nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to hear it. You can't even present new information because it's just like it's already been deemed a conspiracy theory, and you're like, okay, well,
this is.
I'm gonna sit in my fort.
This is.
I just want to hear the conversation. That's it. I just want to hear it. I want to be able to engage in it, but you can't. I'm telling you, from a conspiracy theorist standpoint, because some of them are like, plausible. I'm not saying I believe them, but plausible. I want to hear it out. I want to hear the rest of the conversation, and you cannot introduce them. You can't. It's a little frustrating.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we should run the intro, and we should just roll with it right now. Just let this whole thing be just random. Whatever we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about.
Whatever we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
70. It's ours. We get to take it back.
All right. So I got the intro button queued up. And here's the hook. Aliens, twin. Nope, that didn't work. Twin.
Twin foils.
Twin foil. All right, tinfoil hats, vaccines, Twitter files, and whatever else was underneath our tinfoil hats. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to the Vlogpastors Podcast, a podcast all about the stories and strategies of sharing God's love in the digital world. Now, here are two pastors that love to put a camera in their face and walk around in public. They are the kid and play of digital ministry, Jarrod Brown and Joshua Verwers.
That's right, my name is Joshua Verwers.
And I'm Jarrod Brown, and this is episode 70.
70 of the Vlogpastors podcast, where we really never have an idea of what we're talking about, but you guys sometimes do.
Especially if you're watching on the replay. But if you want to inform the conversation right now, live and in real time, join us every Wednesday, 10:30 in the a.m. Central Time.
Yeah, and we just kind of posted that we were going to chat about whatever, and randomly we're going straight into this show because we typically will leave all of our rants and stuff in the pre-show or the pre-show, which typically gets taken down. This time, however, it's not getting taken down because I figured, well, why not? Let's just let our freak flags fly. And part of it is John Hayes is hanging out in the chat with us, and we're talking.
He's egging it on
tinfoil hats and whatever, and all of a sudden he's like, "Where was this? I struggle if it's not actual facts. I've had multiple rants on theories, conspiracy theories, by the way, when I can poke holes in it. And I had just happened to say that, yes, I prefer that if your tinfoil hat is going to be on your head, if you turn it upside down, it can actually hold water. Because if it can't hold water, then stop peddling it as factual when it's just a theory. Which then led you to talking about how you have to put a disclaimer on things when you're out in public. And I mean, I get that to a certain degree, but...
So here's the problem. You ready?
I'm
ready. Let's see how fast we can get kicked off. Okay.
The stream gets shut down in 5 minutes, and you know why.
I mean, like, where to even start on this? There are topics, and all I'm saying is, for the sake of conversation, and the good of, I believe, our republic, we should probably have some of these, at least leave dialogue open. I don't understand, in relationship to the title of today, the Twitter files, I don't understand what is so offensive about releasing what happened, the information. Is it because we don't believe that that's what really happened? Is it because we believe that it was tainted? Is that believe, like, these are massive, massive things that are coming out that people are going, nah, old news. Not really.
So for me, I enjoyed it. Like, that was a fun read. However, at the same time, I'm sitting here thinking, are y'all now just realizing that there has been suppression of free speech? Like, where you been for the last 2 millennia?
And there's my rub, man. My rub is, so as I grow older, I'm starting to listen to some of these old timers who are like, welcome to the party, you know?
Right. Like, where have you been all along?
Where have you been this whole time? And I'm taking off these rosy colored glasses of like, wow, what a free and transparent place that we live in. There's no power struggles going on. There's, like, they may be, but they're in the background. They're not the forefront of what I'm consuming on a daily basis. I could not be any more wrong. So in all of that, it's just been like, okay, well, now I'm aware that there is a power struggle. And I don't even know who it's between. Yep. I don't even know what in the world the rules are. I just can recognize the fingerprint of, oh, there's something very manipulative and, from my perspective, evil going on that tears at the fabric of who we are and how we're going to be able to relate to one another as states, as a country, as individuals, as people, as believers. And I would at least like to be able to sit down and chat about these things. However, which is what we're going to do today. But however, you can't do that. These days, because I mean, you introduce, like, for instance, if I say I'm about to say some terms, when I say these terms, you already have made a decision, and therefore, if those terms fall within a conspiracy theorist or whatever it's been labeled as framework, then there's no way that we can even talk about it. It's there's a barrier to the conversation unless you are like you or me, and we want to find the truth at all costs.
Well, and I think that comes down to the base of us as human beings, where we make judgments on everything. Like, everything that we face in this world, we're always making judgments. And this isn't the whole judge not lest you be judged type of deal. This is on observation and judging things. Like, I made a judgment. The coffee is hot, but it's not as hot as it could have been if it was just straight fresh out of the pot and they didn't have a little left in here. We're making judgments on everything. And what a lot of times has happened with me, a lot of these politically charged words, like, as soon as somebody inside of Christianity wants to bring up the term vaccine, I start to roll my eyes. And I start to roll my eyes based on a judgment that I have made from people that are Christians that were peddling a bunch of information that has been labeled misinformation, all because the information that they peddled had no evidence behind it at the time they were peddling it. And I roll my eyes in the same way when somebody says, God told me, where's the evidence? If it's not in the Bible, you're saying that God told you, And I've had in my experience too many times where other Christians, even ministers, even prophets, have said God told them, but history has proven that whatever was said or they followed through on was not, in fact, a fact. So because of some of that misinformation, lack of facts to back up the information, it's like you need to put caveats in on what you say. Even where I hear from God, I'm convinced I hear from God, but I put that caveat. I believe I heard God say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that way it's not saying that God was wrong if it doesn't pan out. It's saying that my belief was wrong. Maybe my hearing was wrong. Maybe it wasn't an inner witness. Maybe it was gas. Like, it's like I put in these caveats just so that people have, they can kind of hedge their bets, so to speak, and say, okay, well, it might be, but it might not be.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll wait and see how it pans out. If more Christians had done that when it came to the vaccines, that would be fine. Like, I got vaccinated, and people were like, do you know what you're putting in that body? And I was like, I have no clue what I'm putting in that body. I also have no clue what I put in my body when I went and ate McDonald's. Like, I have no clue. I know that on a regular basis, I am putting poison in my body because there is a bunch of things that I am eating and drinking that I don't know what the ingredients are, and I don't know what the long-term ramifications are of that stuff. And because I don't know what the long-term ramifications are, it's kind of just, without knowing that end result, I'm just kind of hoping and praying for the best. And so that was what I was telling people. Like, if you don't want to get it, don't get it. If you want to get it, get it. I don't really care. I was 100% against mandated and mandatory vaccination. Like, don't tell me that I have to do something. You tell me I have to do something, I'm going to turn into a 2-year-old and I'm going to fight against it as hard as I can. But for me, that's where, like, I get the frustration of always having to put in caveats and always having to preface things. At the same time, the human condition makes such snap judgments based on what we've experienced before. And we, being inside the world of Christianity, we know that there's a lot of wackos out there, and we're two of the biggest wackos there are. So it's like,
absolutely,
because of that, it's like, I get that people are going to have some hesitations and some doubts with it. So that's where a lot of times when I've got these wild notions, like, could it be? Is it possible that, and I make sure to kind of put that in there just to get the wheels spinning and think. But I also like to take the approach of, looking back at the Bible with it. And it's like, why are we shocked? Like, going back to the Twitter files, why are we shocked that there was a coordinated, active, successful endeavor to stop information from being spread that could and might have and even would have changed the direction of this nation? Like, why is that shocking to Christians?
How so?
What do you mean, how so? Like,
how would it have changed the direction of this nation?
Oh, when people know that there are political parties that are only out there, and I'm saying parties because we haven't let the other shoe drop, and they even alluded to the fact that, hey, if you thought this was just the Democrats, wait till we release what the Republicans have been doing. So there are political parties that are just like pretty much every government throughout humanity. They're in it for power, and they want to be the end-all be-all and be their own gods. They want to control everything. Human history, U.S. history, will show you that it doesn't matter which party is in power, they're both leading us to the exact same direction and destination. One's just leading there a whole lot faster. And when you see this in the Twitter files, that there is this political party, what's been exposed so far, that was actively trying to suppress information from getting out that would show that there was a cover-up of trying to, let's not let this information get out that might paint our candidate in a negative light, because we don't want people to think any less of him than they already thought of him. You know, like that type of stuff, it's like we've seen the suppression of information going back from the beginning. Like, go back and read the Gospels again. I mean, what were they doing to the disciples? They were constantly trying to get them, like, hey, they were successful with Peter for a few times. You know, aren't you that follower of Jesus? Oh, no. Now, that was with threat of violence. In today's terms, in U.S., it's not really threat of violence as much as threat of keeping the money away from them. If you do this, then we're not going to advertise on your platform anymore. And you know what's going... So instead of worshiping, you know, power, it's worshiping dollar, which is still power. That's the thing that, like, when I saw it, I was like, I mean, it was good to see, and this is why I like the Twitter files. It was good to see them released. Giving...
Hard to read.
But it was good to see it being released with the actual... Well, hey, here's where Twitter Blue came in handy, because Twitter Blue actually has an easier to consume thread reader.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of it. It gives you like an easier to consume thread reader, and so
$8,
you hit like,
baby.
Hey, it's worth it. Like, and I said this a while back. I was like, I'll give Elon $8. I was already, even prior to that, I was giving Twitter $5 just because of the ability to edit tweets and a better enhanced thread reader. And then it was like, what, for $3 extra? Now you're saying that I might get to see half as many ads? Thank you, sir. Can I have more? Is there a tier where now I can spend like $15 and not see any ads whatsoever? Give me Twitter Premium. I mean, that's why I got YouTube Premium. So anyways, that type of reading it, but seeing the Twitter threads or the Twitter files where it was coming out and they were actually showing maybe not the full information, but actual screenshots of emails and correspondence that was going back and forth. That's the stuff where all of a sudden it's like, it's not just that people were saying, oh, this is happening. No, now there's actual evidence that, yes, this was happening. That's kind of the struggle that I've had with, you know, and going back to that word Christianity, they don't have the evidence to back it up. And it's like when you don't have the facts and evidence to back it up, just say you suspect this. And if somebody questions it, where's your evidence? It's not. It's just a suspicion. I'm investigating the suspicion like officers are doing when they suspect a crime. They investigate to see if one was actually committed. Now, what has given me the suspicion? The fact that I keep seeing different Twitter profiles knocking down. The fact that there was the press secretary whose account got blocked for sharing a New York Post article. Like, that's suspicion enough. Like, that's reasonable suspicion. That's where I think with a lot of the theories out there, throw them out there. Just say that you suspect it. I mean, just flat out come out and say, I think the earth is flat because I've never been in an airplane and see the curvature of the globe. Just tell me that. Like that's simple enough. But don't say, oh, I think that it's flat because somebody else said it was flat and it was an engaging YouTube video that I watched for 45 minutes.
Send up a weather balloon with a GoPro on it.
Right.
See what happens.
Yeah. And don't tell me, I think everything's doctored because you know what? I've seen what happens in Hollywood. No, that's a bunch of garbage. I'm saying it's a bunch of garbage because I've watched Star Wars back over again. CGI was not that impressive back then. Like, now you go back and you watch the moon landing. Oh, well, the flag wasn't waving. Did these people fail like middle school science?
Right.
Like, but then again, of course, you kind of know where culture is. And see, I can go off on rants on this too.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think maybe it's a little bit of my past. You know, I did volunteer to serve this country in the military to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And there was domestic. Yes, and there's a sense of if there's something wrong in this world, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. This may be too far, but it is in those of us who had volunteered to start running towards that to go, this isn't right, and what are we going to do to stop this? And I think the frustration on my end is that there's one of the major, I'm just going to put it in my terms the way that I understand it, broadcasting companies, one of the major platforms is totally hijacked. And you can say that. You can say, listen, it's now being proven, and everybody's going, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, it is what it is. We all knew that. Did we? Because you couldn't say that. You could not say that a couple of weeks ago. So what it just makes you wonder. It's like, well, then what else? And we all assume, and we know that there's a certain slant to things, and blah 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 blah. But it's like there is something wrong, and I want to fix it. Well, how do I even have the dialogue about it if the major avenues in which I could have those dialogues won't even let me say like we're teasing at the start of this broadcast because YouTube could take this down. I'm serious. Seriously, if we talked unhinged about vaccines, if we talked unhinged about other things, about political elections that were the most free and the most fair that have ever existed on the face of the earth, well, they're already talking about the most free and most fair elections that happened in Brazil ever, as promoted by Twitter, were not actually the most free and most fair. It says, I mean, we all know that the elections would have been influenced if we would have known that Hunter Biden's laptop was legitimate. And it implicates other people in a political party who are now the president of the dadgum United States of America. Whether we would have still voted for the Yahoo or not, I'm sorry, there's my colors showing. If we still would have voted for the guy or not, I don't know, because we're in a bit of a stupor right now. But it does matter because we can't even address it. You can't even say anything right now. And it's permeating, whatever this is, it's permeating the Thanksgiving table, and it's permeating conversations around Christmas when you go to Christmas. And the immediate defense is, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, and where's your proof? You can't talk about the proof. You can't. Even when you go to find the proof, the Twitter files that we're talking about today, now I don't even know that I can trust them because they have passed, they have passed through the hands of, for all intents and purposes, a plant from the FBI. And I like, listen, I have no beef with the FBI, at least up until recently. It's like, guys, you look real bad. Real bad the way some of this stuff is playing out to a portion of the country. And whatever is going on, I we're pastors, so I believe it. I believe it to be demonic. I believe whatever is going on, I believe this nation was founded upon religious freedoms where we wanted to come worship God. The whole school of people wanted to come worship God in freedom and establish this place where every person has worth and value and is created in the image of this God. And we thrived in the blessing of that. And I think it is, we've sent out missionary endeavors around the world to testify of this God, this one nation. I think it's it has a target on its back from demonic entities. And I think we're seeing some of that fully expressed in this. And it is frustrating as a former military member, and I don't mean to muddy I don't speak on behalf of the military, I just speak on behalf of those who have felt that call and are believers, I think, that you want to do something about it.
Yeah, and
we're
that's
under
where
attack,
I think,
and we want to defend it, and you can't talk about it.
I think what happens is you just articulated why it's concerning to you. Most of the far right-wing conspiracy theorists cannot articulate why it's concerning to them without including Fox News or InfoWars. Like, without them saying, this person told me. You're able to do it because you're able to sit there and say, I swore an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the United States Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. I swore that oath. It is something that I am passionate about. because I was willing to put my life on the line for it. And I'm seeing the threat happening. I'm seeing at the core of our constitutional liberties. And why did we have those liberties? For us to be able to worship freely. You're able to do that without saying, oh, because Sean Hannity or Glenn Beck told me to it, because Alex Jones says so. Uh-oh, I said his name. Now we are going to get taken down.
Uh-oh, now you're flagged.
So you're able to do it without saying, well, they told me so. Like, here's the thing. The only way that I really think that we should be saying because someone told me so is if it's because God told me so. And then go back and show me. Because then I have, at least from the Christian community, and that's where I'm putting a lot of the far right. It's not just far right. It's the far right Christian community. If you can sit there and say, because the Word of God says this, good. I'm good with it. Even if I disagree with it, I'm good with it. At least you can point back to book, chapter, verse. Even if I interpret it differently, fine, fair play. But most of them can't until they're pressed on it a dozen different times. But why? But why? But why? So for me, sitting there and on the political spectrum, like neither right nor left, because both of them are running off into the ditches. Yep. It's just like, I'm trying to stick to the straight and narrow. And so that's where it's like, just focus on what it is that he's called us to do. And that's not saying we don't get political. I don't believe that the Bible says not to be political. Last I heard, he said, go into all the world. That is every different sphere of influence that this world has. Yes, even politics. So I think we should be entering into there and speaking truth into there. Truth primarily from the Word of God. That's where most are kind of missing it. So when I've had these debates, I sit there and I go back, and it's like the whole suppression of truth, that's been around forever. Like, that has been around forever. I mean, you go back and, was it Pontius Pilate that's asking Jesus, but what is truth? Like, Jesus is like, hey, I'm the truth. And he's like, yeah, but what is truth? Like, questioning truth even back then. So for the last 2,000 years, it's been happening, trying to question what it is. So that's definitely around and evident. But too often we're so, and this is where I lump myself back in with the left and right Christians, far left, far right, doesn't matter. I lump myself in there because we're still trying to worship God. We still proclaim that we are his. And yet we are only focused on the right here, right now, without having the eternal view of where does our place right now affect that? And why are we here? And what is going on? Because I think if we will start to understand that more, then we aren't making the same mistakes in the past. We can look back into history, see how we've overcome throughout history, and then start to apply that. Unfortunately, the majority of Christians don't want to do that. Because I've read the Bible a time or two. Don't take my word for it. Take God's word for it. Go back. How do they constantly win and overthrow governments and get back to a place where they're actually serving God? By serving God, by trusting in him, by not doing what the world says that they need to do for victory, but doing what God says for victory. And we don't want to do that. People don't want to go into the voting booth with the Bible. They want to go into the voting booth, with whatever political handout their party gave them. And that's what they want to do.
Here we go. That's the crazy part to me, because the people, and this may have been how it always is, I find myself constantly asking the older ones, was this like this in your day? I'm just fascinated by that, because I look around and I can feel like the world, and by the world I mean Christianity, in this instance, has lost its mind. I personally believe that God's getting ready to shake out the cobwebs in his church, because you're looking at, in Georgia, you're looking at a pastor who is absolutely for the pro-abortion, for taking out babies, and he is proclaiming it as a victory from God, that he is, he's going to be instituting these things and helping Georgia come along in time. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And that is some of the loudest voices for the church. And I'm going to pick on T.D. Jakes. I personally have loved and been edified by a lot of the stuff that T.D. Jakes has put out in the past. But in our neck of the woods, Beto O'Rourke, old Beto, he goes to his church one time, and T.D. Jakes is promoting him like crazy. That this is the guy, this is the one that we need to be turning to. And in the same post that he goes to the church, he has an ad, he has a promo for women's reproductive rights, and it's like, dude. I mean, as a pastor, as a believer, I'm hoping, as God's shaking, that people like you and me can give a little bit of a backbone to the other believers out there and say, in love, I love the church. Hang on tight. We're going to have a little bit of a shaking.
Yeah.
Like exactly like what you said. What are we going to do? We're going to get on our knees and we're
Right.
going to cry out to the one who makes the difference. But we're also going to speak out. And that is the part which is under attack. And I think it's been frustrating to me, I think, because I haven't been bold enough to say the things. I still am very fearful that I don't have all of the information. But how much information do I need to make a stand on some of these deals? And that's where my internal friction resides. It's like, yes, I see there's suppression of truth. I understand that it's always going to be a thing, but how much information do I need to know that the elections are being influenced in a negative way?
Right.
By platforms suppressing truth. You don't have the ability to say, even on this very podcast right here, if we were to question any of the top 3-4 topics, vaccines, elections, abortions, anything like that, if we were to question it right now, we are going to feel it.
Oh yeah.
You will feel the oppression of it. And it's like, and even internally from the church, which is why I think there's a shaking.
Yeah. And I think, and some of that even for me, like, and here's where some of the, I guess my frustration with all of this has been, where I've gotten frustrated with other Christians, other churches like that are not from Iowa. And I'm like, where y'all been? Like, where have you all been? We were the first state in this
holding down
blessed
fort,
union,
man.
Not even really holding down fort. We were the first one to kind of like give up camp and allow same-sex marriage. And I always do air quotes, same-sex marriage, because that term in and of itself is an oxymoron. Marriage is clearly, biblically, the longest definition of a man, a woman, period. Polygamy is not marriage. It's like, that's just not the way it is. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to like it. And if you want to hijack the word, go ahead and hijack the word. I don't really care. I'm just not going to follow suit. Don't expect me to conform. But that's kind of where it's going. And it's like, that's been around in Iowa for a while. And that was Iowa. Now, how did that happen? Because activists from California moved to Iowa and started bringing California money to Iowa to try to influence that and bring up the lawsuits. And why? Because if we can get it passed in Iowa, well, then everybody will go ahead and pass it. And it's like, so, I mean, we've seen it and we've been here. That's where it was like, where y'all been? Like, how did you not realize this? Guess what, Texas? You've been infiltrated by California. Guess what's next? It's
we
coming.
Resemble this remark.
Like, I mean, and that makes sense. I mean, when you look at the history of it, that's the way it's going to happen. So there's been a little bit of like just frustration in that. I will say the best thing that I have seen to hold the success, to create and maintain the true believers. You're always going to have those that don't believe and will argue and they just whatever. The best thing that we can do as Christians to stand up for these causes is to make sure that we have biblical backing and support on that. And the main reason I'm saying that is because, at least as it currently stands, there is still a First Amendment, which does allow us freedom of religion and that religious expression. Too often, people will claim religious expression, but they can't actually back it. That's where their problem runs, because they can't actually, like, and I did that back when, I wound up getting terminated for not working on Sunday. And the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, as I'm dealing with them and trying to bring a case at it. And they're like, well, you're claiming, religious freedoms here, but there's not actually consensus, across Christianity when the Sabbath day is. And you're also a minister, so how does that work? Because aren't you still working on the Sabbath, so it's not an actual day of rest? And they're asking me these questions. I've got to be equipped, have the ready defense for that. Now, most Christians don't have a ready defense. Why don't they have a ready defense for the things that they want to stand for? Because they're not actually going to the source of truth. They're going to somebody else. That they may have the defense because they've actually read the book. So for me, that's like, what are the big issues that I can stand on? Like when people are like, oh, well, Jesus never said anything about marriage. You haven't read what he said then. Like, it's pretty obvious and pretty clear. When it comes to life. So yes, the whole abortion and all of that. No, I mean, it's obvious. If you've read the Bible, you can see that. Like, it's so obvious if you've read it. Now, I can sit there and I can point people to it. Those are the battles that I think that we need to be ready to focus on. Too often, most Christians are not focused on that. They're focused on whatever is going to affect them personally, rather than whatever is actually going to affect the church as a whole and humanity. And I think that's where it starts to break down.
And we all know this, but as the church goes, so goes the nation.
Right.
I don't see how this is a sit-down type moment. This is on our watch, in our hour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. We've got a bunch of pastors of small churches on. It's like, now beeth the time, gents. And I don't mean, I'm not calling anybody to, violence or anything like that, nor getting angry and preaching down at people. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is, and I think we both agree on this, there's a dialogue and standing firm in the Word of God.
Yeah.
And the power of His Spirit to bring fresh revelation in real time that is factual and can be backed up. We need Him now more than ever. Yeah. And I think we're all in agreement on how do we get on His page rather than, promote our own agendas and figure out how to tear down the system and the man. But I think that ship has sailed. I will say, I want to celebrate Elon and his attempts. And he's even, I don't know if you saw some of these, but he even corrected some people about their interpretation of Jesus. And you see some of that?
I didn't.
Where he's like, he was replying back to somebody, and I'm gonna butcher this. I would need to find the quote. So he said, I really found the teachings of Jesus interesting as far as turning the other cheek when people lash out at you. And he was just talking about all the Twitter stuff that's going on and the heat that he's taken and that sort of thing. And I think it's humbling to watch a Playboy billionaire put his money where his mouth is, time after time after time, for the good of humanity, and look and go, I kind of feel like the Lord's kind of ribbed some of us with that. It's like, granted, we don't have billions of dollars, but we do have a voice, and we do have a megaphone to say, this is what is coming out of heaven, this is what's coming out of the Word, and this is where we feel like He's going.
Yeah. I want to throw this one other thought in here as a form of encouragement, because I know we do have, this show, we've got the podcast, and there are a lot of the small church pastors that are in and around here. And I know there's a lot of discouragement from small church pastors because the eyes are always on the mega churches and what they're doing. And then we can start to easily think, yeah, but how are we ever going to be able to combat what is going on in the church when we're just such a small segment? I would encourage all of us that have those thoughts, and I have been one of those, to remember what God did with Gideon.
That's right.
It's like,
that's right, man.
So how about we do exactly what He's called us to do? And that's where, like, I do and I have equipped our church when it comes to the hot button issues. It's like, okay, let's talk about this. And we're going to talk about it biblically. And I've done this during elections. I don't care that the IRS says I can't talk about politics. I don't care that the IRS says I can't tell you who to vote for. Fine. You know how I got around that? I just put up both candidates word for word. Did it take some extra time for prep? Yes. But I went through the issues that matter most to God, starting with life. I mean, he's the author and giver of it. So start with that and find quotes, find tweets, find videos. This candidate says this. This candidate says this. And here's what God says here, 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 and here. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but they say this and God says this. You know, you start to do that, and all of a sudden people will understand at least where you're coming from. And then those that disagreed with me, because our church, we've got Republicans and we've got Democrats. And I was shocked at how many Democrats, especially when it came to the life issue, had never looked at what the word actually said. And then when they saw it, all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I did get one of those mailers and they said that we're supposed to vote for these people. But God says the exact opposite. Now, all of a sudden, you've equipped them with biblical framework to go back and to reference that. And so for me, it's like, is that going to change the outcome of an election? Probably not. Is it going to start to move the needle in the right direction? Absolutely. Is it going to move far enough? Probably not. But that's only based on my understanding.
Yeah, that's right.
And God's understanding far surpasses that. And when I look back at what he did with Gideon, where it's like, oh, well, we've got this many people. And he's like, great. How about we cut that down to like 10%? It's like, you think you've got enough people. I want to do something with even fewer.
Yeah.
You know, so we can sit there and look at this and say, well, you know, when it comes to the religious freedoms, religious liberties, you know, all of a sudden I'm sitting here and thinking some of those religious freedoms are definitely under attack, and they're going before a group of 7? And we've thought that with how many millions, maybe we can shift the course, and now maybe God's just going to use 4. Just saying. Like, maybe what we thought the right way of getting things done wasn't the actual right way of getting things done. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with how that plays out. And I'm not going to lose sleep over it, because regardless of which way the wind blows and what happens in the political sphere, it's not going to stop me from continuing to worship him and serve him. That's where I think we really need to get back to, especially because Satan loves to use fear and torment and the confusion, the battlefield that takes place in our mind. He loves to do. And he wants to get us distracted. That's the other thing. He wants to get us distracted so much on so many small little issues. Have I been in inner church meetings where I was supposed to deliver the message and I was told what not to preach on? Absolutely. I went there. I was supposed to give the message, and they said, you just can't preach on the Holy Spirit. Like, I mean, I'm a Pentecostal guy. I'm a Word of Faith guy. I love preaching on the Holy Spirit. So when I get told that you can't do that, what does my flesh want to do? Exactly what they told me not to do. What did I do? I asked God what I should do. And he gave me a completely different message, because I wasn't going to get in the weeds, and he didn't want me to get in the weeds, because there was still some unity that brought out. Now, what they didn't tell me not to do was to get political with it, which is exactly what God had me get. So, I mean, maybe his way was just a little bit smarter than mine. But I don't know. It's just, we can, bringing this back around full circle, there are a lot of things that go on, and it is very easy for us to put the tinfoil hats on. Okay, I like the idea, and I think you're right. We need to have these conversations. We need to have these discussions. But even like in just what we did today, we need to be able to kind of bring that back and look at what have the men and women of God in the generation prior to us went through. And are they seeing essentially the same thing, just maybe it's on a different scale and with different approaches? Yeah, they've seen it. Like, it's new to them, but at the same time, it's not new to them. It's a little surprising, but it's not really surprising. And I think that's where, when we look at it biblically, we realize, hey, there's nothing new under the sun. Mm-hmm. And if we believe that all the evil that is going on is satanic and demonic, and we understand that the devil's playbook is pretty basic, like lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, pride of life. I mean, it's like, this is what I have to offer you. And if we just understand that we keep getting tripped up by the same 3 tricks that he's got, and he is not creative, he just twists and manipulates and uses those same 3 tactics. I think if we understand that, it's easier for us to start to combat the lies and finding the truth. You got any other rants you want to throw out there before we start to wrap up?
Man, all I want to remind my own spirit man is I'm optimistic in my eschatology. So I believe that God's going to come to a pure, spotless bride. He's going to have a radiant bride. And for that to happen, we need times like this so that she rises up. We need times like this so that we dust out the cobwebs and can identify and discern, evil and righteous. And I think it's about to be an exciting time of being filled with His Spirit and proclaiming the truth in love.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about Twitter because that provides a place that we can say anything we want. Until then, we get to have these conversations together as believers and spur one another on and encourage one another to fight the good fight and resist,
Here's the other encouraging thing that I want to throw out there. You just mentioned this. You're excited about Twitter. I'm excited about Twitter because there is a lot more freedom of speech on there now than there was even 6 months ago. There's a lot more expression of different views on there now than there was 6 months ago. The thing that I'm most excited about this is because of now the resurgence and popularity on Twitter, the fact that it has taken the number 2 spot in websites or social media platforms. It is leapfrogging. Oh yeah, it's like leapfrogging everybody at this point. And there's so many more users coming on, regardless of what they want to say. The actual facts that you look out there and the statistics are drastically different. But you start looking at that. Here's the thing about the world. The world is always going to go after the almighty dollar. And the almighty dollar is going to be where the eyeballs are at. Where is the most people at? So the advertisers,
at least it's predictable.
No, they're not going to pull out. The advertiser, some of them will on principle, and then they'll start to go bankrupt, and then they will run back with their tails between their legs. The good part about that, and here's the encouraging part about that, is now that we've seen one of the largest platforms start to gain traction and leapfrog everybody else because of this novel idea of let people express their thoughts. Yes, you can still provide some security and some stability by making sure that there is not blatantly deceptive and false stuff that is being widely promoted with the sole intention of deceiving, because really that's scamming and spamming.
Yeah.
You can still provide that while letting people express themselves. These other platforms are going to see that. They're going to take note of that. They're going to realize there's money in that, and that's where they're going to go after it. That's the encouraging thing for me. Because I'm like, hey, if Twitter's all of a sudden, Elon's like, there actually is money to be made right here. So let's make some money. And then the others are going to be like, wait, there's money in electric vehicles? Did you notice how everybody has an electric vehicle now? Like, he figured out something. People wanted an alternative, and now everybody's giving him that alternative. What's going to happen when he's like, hey, how about we give people freedom of speech? What's going to happen with the YouTubes and the Facebooks?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's basic, like basic business principles and basic freedom of speech, basic ideas that are proving themselves true yet again. And I am enjoying the restraints being cast off, honestly.
So when are you going to start posting more? I want to see you get active and post on Twitter.
I post all the time.
What? Oh, have you got a different account that I don't know about?
Yes. I wanted a place. Every time I go to a new platform, the stupid AI finds me out and shoots me around to all of like the people who like me or whatever, like, you know, family and kin and friends and whatnot. I am super hiding. Of course, you can probably find me in 2 seconds now. Yeah, go ahead, find me. It's not, the name isn't anything crazy, but the deal is that, like, I just want to post what I want to post, and I don't want to have to worry about churchy people jumping on my back. I don't want to have to worry about any of that stuff. I just want to say what's on my mind. Free flow of consciousness. Let it go. So I've been enjoying myself. And I don't have to
it was
hear
on
from
your
anybody.
old account that you stopped posting from, and you went back to that old account. The one that I had found a while back, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to follow him on this one. And I think I did follow, and then I was like, wait, he never posts. I'm unfollowing. Now I'm following. You now have 17 followers over there.
Get off my... I need to be able to say some things over there.
Yep. Nope, it's going to happen. Oh, and just, I guess, if anybody really wants to know, all you have to do is go over to mine, at Joshua Verwers.
Don't
and you can just
dox me.
Click on my followers, and you will see the most recent one. Like the people who I'm following. There's only 125 of them. So there you go. That'll be fun. Get ready for a surplus. I'll be nice. I won't link it inside like the description for you, but if somebody wants to do the legwork, they can find you. It actually wasn't that hard.
It's really not that hard. It's just, it was just silent. You know, nobody's looking.
How old is that photo?
Super old. It's
you're just a baby.
It's supposed to be. I don't know what, I was on Twitter with that account. I don't know why it pulled that one up. When I went to log in, it pulled that one up. And
you're like, okay.
And, just went with it. I'm like, oh great, now I don't have to like hide anything. I'm just gonna be a non-entity on Twitter, just watching. And then I got to thinking, why am I doing that?
Right. That's what you said like the last time we chatted, that you're just on there just to kind of watch. And I'm like, no, we need more voices. And I think you're to a point where you can just ignore people.
Oh yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
You get some of the comments that might happen, and then it's just like, I'm just going to ignore you. You're crazy anyways.
You want to do comments?
Just be prepared. If you start sharing like YouTube profile pics with the mouth gaping open.
Get ready for the hate. Oh, mercy.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some of these comments, and then we'll wrap it up here. John Hayes, I had no clue on that AI until I saw Trey's video. I have not seen which Trey video you're talking about.
Me either.
Oh, never mind. Okay, that is Trey's video, writing a sermon. Great minds think alike. So
what's that app called? Chat GPT or something like that?
I don't know. I think so. Now I gotta look. Trey, go down here. When did that video come out? How have I been missing this? Oh, it was yesterday. New AI tech is not good for the church. Creepy. All right, I'm gonna have to watch his, and then I'm going to have to make a reaction video to it. Unless it's exactly like I think he would say, and then I probably won't, because he'll just do everything I was going to say. Wait, there's a VP website. Vlogpastors.com takes you to the YouTube channel. I think I have a different pick on Insta when I created an account over there. What
Talking
are
about
naps?
The age of his kids. Yep.
Naps exist, and they are glorious.
I'm split on that. It's a nap that could roll into an afternoon, long, extended nap that... Then you wake up and you're like, why did I just do that?
I just read John's comment. Duchess and Flower banned from the live stream since Duchess stole the show.
She tends to. I don't know if we have that video.
If you know, you know.
little deposit for you.
Hey, Amazon listens to whatever the maps tell them to do, even when it involves driving into the swamp behind us. Probably. Kid and Play. That's right, Kid and Play. That's who we are. We are the Kid and Play of digital ministry. I miss fun movies like that. I was just speaking about fun movies like that. I was watching a Actor on Actor with Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser, and it was like, oh,
yeah,
I miss Airheads.
Matt Damon was talking about that the other day. He said it just costs too much money these days. You can't make a film like that anymore. I mean, they exist. They exist on Netflix and those types of things. But if you're going to make one, you have to make a blockbuster that competes with Marvel. So therefore, you don't have romantic comedies. You don't have any of those.
I am looking forward to Whales, though. Have you seen any of the stuff on it?
I went to watch it, but you have to go somewhere. It's like Paramount or something, isn't it?
I don't know. Like, I've been looking, trying to find it. I saw in the theaters it was supposed to come out this Friday, but I can't find any of our local theaters not even local theaters. I can't find any theaters around that have like even pre-sale tickets. So I think I'll just have to wait and see if Friday shows up. And I want to go see it though. Looks good.
I do want to see it.
Yep. We have struggled with people being able to defend what they believe in the Bible, as many don't have the skill set and know the why. Yeah. And I think that comes from, it's a discipleship thing, really. And it's not to say that your church isn't discipling or our church isn't discipling, but I noticed with ours, when they weren't able to defend, it wasn't the discipleship model of kind of I look at discipleship model simply being the Apostle Paul and Timothy, follow me as I follow you. And so showing them how you actually do what you do. And so that was one of them where I did that, and I can't remember what issue it was years ago. And it was essentially just, here is a live, even in my sermon, here's how I actually study this. So it was like how to study, the Bible type of the deal, and going through and here's what we're going to do. Like, let's just search it out and let's find the scriptures, and then let's make sure that it is the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses.
I have nothing but respect for that, for you guys in that approach. I always get a little dodgy though on that, because it's like, this was made for fishermen and like the ruffians. This is made for the basic element of society. And I think whenever we put so much pressure on our congregation to know the ins and outs of every bit of the word, I think that's that type of discipleship gets a little skewed. Like, they're going to want to. There's going to be a natural hunger for it. I get it.
Yep.
But we need to stand back and let Holy Spirit do what Holy Spirit does in certain personality types. Yeah.
So in that one where I was teaching them, here's how we do it. Here's how we actually study through that. Take it a step further, and here's where I even told them, I was like, hey, to me, it's even like when you're teaching, like we're teaching our children to kind of be self-taught. They're learners, lifelong learners. Often it's not important to know the answer, but know where to find the answer.
Yeah.
And if you know the answers in the Bible, but you don't know how to find it, go to somebody who does and ask them.
No, that's
ask.
Good. I like that.
And so I've told them, I was like, if you don't know where it's at, call me up, send me a text. Hey, what's the scripture that would talk about this? And just wait for a second and I'll get back to you.
Hey, Google.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how many times I've been sitting in a meeting with pastors and they're like, well, I think it's in 2 Timothy chapter 1. And you're like,
yeah.
Hey, Google.
Right. Google works. The thing is don't let Google be the answer. Don't say, hey, Google, what does the Bible say about this? If you do that, okay, but then look, and what Bible verse are they actually referencing? Then go check that. Does it actually say what Google says it says? Okay, what have I missed for the last 15, 25 minutes? Nothing.
A bunch.
You didn't miss anything.
A bunch. We went on a rant or two.
Yeah. Squirrels are going to battle and lightsabers, and people are not able to articulate, and people started stating that they have opinions. Fair play.
I would love to see this.
That's pretty much what we were discussing.
The visuals of that are amazing. Squirrels and lightsaber battles, yes.
Yeah. What Josh is talking about sounds like the California moving to Texas series on the Babylon Bee. It ain't far off. I mean, Babylon Bee is becoming less satirical and more factual.
I know. They're just reporting.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yes, we have a real life for a lot too. I get it. We have some new neighbors who are from the Chicago area that wanted to experience the country life. Needless to say, things are far different than us. I have a couple friends in southern San Antonio. His entire neighborhood is California transplants.
We have neighbors who are California transplants, and they bought a little 5-acre place so that they could live in the country and have horses. Well, 5 acres is not enough for horses. And so they will graze their horses in the bar ditches and they have more money than they know what to do with. And so they'll have mules, and they have mules being a gator for anybody who doesn't live in the country, a gator, a side-by-side, a Polaris, name your brand, but one of those. And they will take their horses for walks instead of riding their horses. So they will take them down country roads, like multiple gators, pulling out the gate, taking all of their horses for walks so that they can feed them and walk and exercise them. And we're like, and then what?
Hey, I mean, yep. And then what? John saying, preach it, Jarrod. Exactly one of the things that we've been saying for a bit, that this is the church's responsibility to rise up and be the church. Amen. Amen. Diana saying, don't forget to hit the like button. So if you didn't do it, shame on you. I know a couple did it because I saw it like pop up. It looks like 5 did it. All 5 that are watching. You're awesome. Jarrod, dude, I do that a lot as well. Mute is my friend. Oh, yeah, muting people. I like muting people. It's fun. I like blocking people.
Never done
I blocked somebody the other day on Twitter. I don't even remember what it was. They sent me a DM. I don't remember what it was, but it was like block. Laugh out loud. Pastor reacts to a pastor's video on an AI pastor. That's your video title for you, Josh.
Actually, screenshot that.
Yep. Our worship leader just came back from a YWAM Chico. Needless to say, has some wild views on what he saw while I lived in Chico. Don't ask me why I keep saying Chico. All right. That's it. You got anything else, Jarrod?
Let me get this screenshot in right here. Let me take a picture.
Oh.
Boom. Got it.
Wait, which one?
I might make that video. It's very possible. Just because of all the ridiculousness around titles and stuff with the video world these days.
I think you need to use that just for titling. You should sit there and say, give me a title on a video about this.
It does.
Have AI do your thumbnails too. There you go.
If I could, I would. Their titles, its titles, his titles. What are the pronouns for AI right now? Its titles are fantastic.
Yeah. But
they
you
are.
can
They're
do
better than anything I
thumbnails.
came up with.
I think I just saw that Philip DeFranco, one of his latest ones, AI came up with his thumbnail.
Oh, stop it. All right.
So I don't know where he got it from, but I know it can. That's something we need to talk about next time, is AI taking over. And is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Especially when it comes to artistic expression and maybe the theft thereof.
We're experiencing exceptionally high demand right now. I'm serious. There's so many people on this thing.
All right. Until next time, stay blessed. Enjoy God's best. Have a fantastic week.